I want to dig into, I was listening to Chris Voss, the hostage negotiator guy. And he did a new talk, which I was like, okay, this is really good and I really like it. So I want to dig into a little bit of negotiations, but just, well, anyway, but I don't know how to preface it anymore, so I'm not going to. But I'm going to toss out there this first thing, which I was surprised. Do you guys have any idea what the first thing is that you should go into a negotiation with? Which I was kind of shocked, and I don't know if I'm asking that right, but before you walk into a negotiation, you should know this first. Does anyone have any guesses or ideas? That is dead wrong.
Your bottom line, your top line, and what you're willing to settle with, basically,
Your
right?
position. That's very good. That's very good. It's not it, but it's very good. And that's what I would have said too. I would have said exactly like what I'm going to walk with, what I'm not going to walk with. Um, it goes back even further backwards than that, to set up beforehand. Does anyone want to toss anything else out of there, or I'm just going to go not? All right, I'm going to go. He said you need to know your value. And I was like, he's right. Like you need to know your value or what I would consider your power, your worth. You need to know that because that enables you to know implicitly what your bottom line is. Because he said, looking into a negotiation, he goes, it's not a negotiation against, it's a negotiation with. He goes, but we don't know because we don't know the other side. So we don't know what the optimum outcome could be. We have an idea, we have our idea, but we don't know their position all the way and their idea. He said, so before you walk into anything, he said, you should know your value and your worth. So for instance, that might be, let's say you're negotiating for a raise, that might be making sure that your resume is completely up to date and knowing what your position goes for in other locations. If you're a real estate agent, when I was a real estate agent, the thing that I dove into was my numbers. What are my numbers? Before I had numbers, I dove into who am I as a human being because they didn't have numbers. And so the only thing I could really rely on is I bust my ass for people. I know what I work like. And I know that if I don't know something, I'll find it out. And I know that if I make a mistake, I will do everything to fix it. Like, I don't like making mistakes anyway, but I am human. I'm going to make them. And the further outside of my comfort zone I get, the more I'm going to make because I don't know. I mean, that's all the unknown. The further into the unknown I am, the more likely I am to stumble. Um, 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 um. And if I do, I will pick myself back up again, figure out what I stumbled, and do everything I can to fix it, even if it means coming out of my own pocket. Like, I don't care. If that's what it means to fix the mistake I made, then that's what it means. So that was my value in the very beginning. I didn't have, my value was who I was as a human being. Your value always is who you are as a human being, in addition to the things that you can quantify your value with, i.e., salary, position, numbers, whatever, stats, whatever it is, right? But your value is always who you are as a human being first. Now that I've been doing this for so long, my value, like I just know my value. It goes back. It's interesting. It went from who I was to what I can do back to who I am again. And that really became my value. But know your value and know your worth. So that's the first one. And I really want you, especially for you guys that are newer, I really want you to internalize that you might not have the numbers, but you already know in your past that I mean, there's nobody here that's 16 and, this is their first gig. You already know what you do when you work. You already know your work ethic. You already know success always leaves clues. So you know what you did in the past. As you showed up there, you'll show up here. So stand in on that. Know your value, know your worth. The second thing is do not, he said this, do not let your brain get taken hostage, which what I liken that to, and as he explained it further, you've got to walk into stuff knowing that this is a puzzle that you can figure out. Because if you don't, and when somebody says something to me, my brain will shut down and I literally will go, I can't, I can't. And then my brain shuts down. and it doesn't think anymore because I just told it I can't. But if I go into it with it's a puzzle and we just got to figure it out, then I'm actively looking for the puzzle piece that's going to fit, or what our next step is, or maybe what the quiz is, or whatever it is. But it's a puzzle that I have to figure out. That's how I do it. But you got to do whatever it is that you do to not let your brain shut down, because as soon as you let your brain shut down, you stop thinking. And I've been there in my world in giving speeches. I've been there where my brain shuts down and I'm like, I don't know the next word. And I don't speak that way anymore, memorize scripted, because of that, because I don't know the next word. And then I instantly go, I can't. And then the brain shut down completely. And it's just like, there's no recover. Well, I do know recovery now, but it's not, it's not a pleasant place. And I don't ever want to be there again. So I have to stay into it. It's a puzzle. There's a way out. There's always a way out. There's always a way out. There's always something. So I got to go in there because that keeps this engaged. And if this is engaged, then we can keep moving forward. So know your value, know your worth. Do not let your brain get taken hostage. So whatever you got to do so your brain doesn't get taken hostage. And the third one is just listen. What do they want? Tell me how to help you best. Help me understand the position. Why does that matter? Why is that important to you? What does that really mean to you? I want a big backyard. What is a big backyard to you? Why is that important to you? Why does that matter? What is it? Does it need to be fenced? Does it need to not be? Are you cool within the city? Would a park across the street work? What is it? So just listen and really, really listen within on the other side of what it is that they want. Because again, if I know my value and I know my worth and I know my power of who I am and what I can do, and then I don't let my brain get shut down. So it's a puzzle, got to figure out the puzzle. What is it that you need for your side of the puzzle? Okay. So, and then if it's a puzzle, maybe I need a big backyard. Maybe a park across the street is the answer for inner city. Maybe it is. Would that work? I mean, it's not a backyard, but it's a park. It's big. What is it? So then listen, and then really ask clarifying questions around that. But then this last one I thought was brilliant. And this was the one that made me go, holy crap, I love this. He said, you have to ask a question that makes people think. And he said, open-ended question, but he asked this one, and I love this. He said, what is it? How can I be utilized to strategically help this organization long-term? And I was like, oh my gosh, it changes everything from, I don't just want a job. I don't just want to help you buy a house. How do I help you strategically long-term get what it is that you want? And that is, even asking it myself in my own brain. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you guys. What does that question do in your guys' brain? How do I position myself or set myself up? How do you utilize me to teach? Good Lord, to long-term help you hit your goals. God. Okay, what's it do to your brain, or what do you guys think about that, or thoughts or inputs? Because that's what I got, and I'm going to shut up now and let you guys talk.
I would say, I want you to see me as valuable and indispensable. Like, I'm not only there to, I don't only want to be there to help you or to, I want to be there all the way. I'm valuable. I want to be indispensable in, whatever you're doing, whether it's finding a home or whether it's at work. Yeah, that's what comes to my mind when I say, how can I strategically, let me, yeah, so that comes to mind.
I love the valuable and indispensable. I really love that because it gives, I think it's a Japanese principle. It might be Chinese. I'm really not sure which one. Nick was telling me about it this morning, where he said they don't look at how do you negotiate this deal. They don't think in years. They think in dynasties. Must be Chinese. They literally think in dynasties. How do we negotiate something that goes for a dynasty? And that's that forever, that's that long-term thing. And that's that indispensable that you're with on that one, Winnie. It's that not just here, but long-term. How do I help you do that? Any other thoughts around that? That how do I help you strategically move this organization forward long-term? I got Kathy putting stuff down, which means I got to put my glasses on because hang on, Kathy. What are we saying here? When I worry about a particular script, that's when I emotionally, mentally lose control of myself. Exactly. That's what happened to me too. And that's why with scripting in particular, they were so good. God, when I first started in the real estate business, it was like word for word, verbatim, you can't change a thing. And I was like, some of these words don't work with me. And they were like,
Yes.
the concept, yeah, they were like, learn the concept, learn scripts and why you say things the way you do, and then you can change anything you want. And so I did. I dove deep into scripts, why, LP, what is it called? LNP, LPN, whatever the heck it's called. Dug into that, dug into why it's worded the way it's worded, and then changed them. But what really helped me more than anything else is understanding the concept. Because if I understand the concept, then I can just tell a story. And then that's easy because I know the concept and I don't have to worry about, I am not made to be an actor in a movie or Broadway or something like that because I can't remember shit anymore. It's horrible. Not that I ever really was good at it, but it's worse now. And then what else? Another word I need to leave myself open to help. In other words, I need to leave myself open to help them. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Just how do I help you? And what does that look like? And then we are worthy of getting it on our side also and being paid and all that kind of stuff. Like we're worthy of, how do I help you? I want to buy a house, digging into that. And then, okay, here's how it works, which is basically saying, here's how you help me. Like the loan officer is going to call you. You need to get the paperwork turned in immediately. The stager is going to call you. We need to get the stager out ASAP. The photographer is going to call you. You need to make sure that the house is clean or whatever it is. Like, here's how you help me so that we can get you what you want. How many times have you guys worked with someone and they won't turn in the flipping paperwork with the loan person? You're like, what the hell? You know? Anybody else have anything around this? Know your value, worth. Don't let your brain shut down. Do whatever you got to do to keep your brain open. Really listen to the other person and really understand where they are. And then long-term thinking. How do I set this up so I can strategically help you long-term? Said the word. Kathy, you keep making me put glasses on, darling. I got to go and finish getting ready to head out. Thanks. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, sweetie. You have a wonderful weekend too.
Sorry, you got to put your glasses on. Love you guys.
Have a good weekend, sweetheart.
You too.
They're filthy and they're catching light really bad. I need to clean them. Anyway, does anyone else have any thoughts around this? Or does it change how you go into negotiating or business?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. What are you thinking there, Dutch?
Well, I'm along the investor line, and a lot of times I don't think about building because I need to get to the point. In other words, I'm buying the property and I want to know whether they want to do a deal or not. So I haven't been trying to establish a long-term relationship with the folks for referrals and stuff like that. And the thing that you said about negotiate for a destiny kind of hit me, that I should negotiate for the long term.
Oh, but for a
Although
dynasty.
a lot of the gurus that I listen to say you've got a lot of people to talk to, because I would be contacting a lot of people, not just in my specific farm area. So in the framework, I can't spend a lot of time to find out whether there's a deal there or not.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me very short term in my thinking. So that was impactful to negotiate like it's a destiny.
Dynasty.
I mean,
Yeah.
not a destiny, a dynasty.
Yeah,
Excuse me,
dynasty.
wrong word.
Dutch, thank you for that, because
Yeah.
that's exactly in real estate. That's what I did too. I played the numbers game, and it was like as many people as I could hit. And it was never any long between that and then moving all over the country so many times. It's always I haven't valued the long term as much. And I haven't played the long game. I played the short game. I haven't played the long game. And but in my relationships where I have played the long game, those are so wealthy and valuable. And I don't mean wealthy and like I get money off of them. I mean, there's a rich wealth there of wisdom and knowledge and encouragement and friendship and love and all that kind of stuff in playing that long game out. And I like that better too, that playing out for dynasty. That's a cool thing. And when it all comes down to if everything blows to hell, that's who you count on. It's the long term, it's not the short term stuff. So yeah, that's a good one. Anyone
Yeah, I
else?
was trying,
Go ahead.
and I was trying to help a lady stay in the house that she was living with her mother. The other three siblings wanted sold and want the cash. And I depended on her to call me, and that was wrong. I couldn't get her number. I wasn't strong enough to get her number while I was there. But she said, I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you. And it didn't happen. So even though I told the agent was involved in it. I don't like buying houses when agents are involved, because I have to educate them
Right.
as to, because I use totally different,
They have different objective.
I
I
have
cannot talk
different
today.
contracts. I have
Yes.
different contracts,
Yep,
a total different way
Yeah.
of doing things.
they do.
So
And they don't think as much outside the box. Like I was listening to somebody talking. I don't know if they're in handcuffs where they can't do something or if they just can't think outside the box, but either way, the result's the same. They just can't do it. And so I had a guy ask me, he goes, well, what do you do in a situation like that? And I'm like, over, under, around, through. Like I don't know, because I can't seem to get through to them. And I don't know if their hands are tied or not. Maybe they are, maybe they just can't fathom, but whatever, it's over, under, around, through, let's go. This also made me think about getting in front of Glenn at some point after I've taught in X amount of rooms and gone, okay, well, I've taught in all these rooms and I've done this and this is what I'm building. And how do I be part of this strategically long-term with you? What does that look like? And I've never really cared to or wanted to get in front of them. I just haven't. And I'm assuming, well, hell's bells, I know I could if I wanted to hard enough. I just would figure it out and make it work. But it really changed my viewpoint. It picked my eyes up further. That's what it did. It picked my eyes up even higher. And every time I think I'm thinking big enough, and then something like this happens to make me think bigger, I'm like, damn, all right, here we go. So, damn, all right, here we go. Let's get bigger. Yeah, it's cool.
yeah, I know. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Anybody else have any other comments or anything before? What do you got over there, Anna? Can't hear you for some reason. I don't think you're muted either. I don't know what it is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. I think it was the Bluetooth for some reason. Okay, I was trying to say that for me, interestingly, it's the opposite problem. I always go at it from the long-term relationship perspective. And so I've gone into just last year about 8 or so appointments for listing appointments where I told them, I don't want you to sell this house. I don't think you should sell this house. And so I always think of that long term, not thinking about the shorter term gain, which I feel like for me, I need to come to like a middle point maybe, where I need to keep that shorter term objective in mind. So I lost sight of the shorter term and I just kept that long term vision all those people love and appreciate me now, but I didn't get the business because I told them not to sell.
But
Clearly. So I don't know if that's better.
okay,
I don't know.
I'm gonna hang on a second. I'm gonna stop you, and here's why I'm gonna stop you. Normally I never would, but you're right. You do need to balance it because but I also have told people too, like, you know, if this isn't in your best, like, I'm not here just to make a deal. Like, I'm here in your long-term best interest, and if it's not in your long-term best interest, and you know, unless you have some other viable reason going on here, why do you want to do this? Like, what's going on? And so I have talked people out of it. Some of them did do it anyway, and they just went with somebody else, which, you know, they clearly, I didn't dig deep enough into what was really going on. And so if you're seeing that scenario, then yeah, I would go back and go re-examine, because just because we know what's long-term best for people or what we think, you know what I mean? Like, might not be. Sometimes short-term,
We explained it to them and they agreed,
yeah,
but at the same time, I feel like I could have brought out the pros of selling now a little bit more, maybe. I
right.
don't know. I don't know. I feel like I always kept that long-term objective in mind because I always had that perspective of it's well beyond the transaction. It's always like that
Yes.
longer term play. But I don't know. Maybe it did backfire. So I guess
If it did, I would say your motives are pure. So I would
Yeah.
just dig in. I mean, at least you're coming at it. I'd rather have you coming at it that direction I worked with another girl she just ramrodded people to sell. And I mean, she really ramrodded them. And I'm like, it's not in their best interest. They don't want to sell. They don't need to sell. You know,
Right.
that's not what, so I had to pull her back that direction. She did that. And then the other thing that she did, I love her dearly too. She's awesome. She's just so assertively, aggressively, you know, going after it. And then the other thing that she would do is if anything happened, she would just throw the whole deal. She's like, the hell with this, not dealing with them. I'm like, oh no, you get your ass back in there, close this thing. But you're from the other end where you so don't want to hurt somebody. And so I think for you, you're right. It needs to pull back a little bit. At least I know your motives are cool, to dig in to make sure that you're tapping into theirs as well. So like her, I really had to work with, you know, the motive is not to make money, sweetheart. Like, I mean, it is, but you're too skewed that direction. And you might be, maybe, I don't know, maybe you're skewed more that direction and maybe you need to pull back a little bit. But at least I know that your heart's pure and I never have to worry about that part. So just
Thank
dig
you.
in. Yeah, you're welcome. It's true. It really is.
made
So
a comment when you mentioned about talking to Glenn. I definitely think you should. I just found out, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I just found out that the mentor split that EXP is charging for solo agents
yes,
is 10% for the mentor plus 10% for their mentor program.
yep,
So it's 40% straight out the gate for your
yep,
first 3 transactions.
yep.
Yeah, he better be including you in that, and he better be paying you handsomely for that.
I don't mentor, so I don't do that. That's
No,
not,
no, no, but I mean, like, as part of
yeah,
maybe his EXP University protocol,
yeah,
as part of coaching. There's so many ways to inject yourself in that EXP world because it's
there
so
is.
huge. It has like so many different avenues to explore. But he better be putting you in it. And if you need someone to be like, hey, Glenn, you gotta wake up. Let me know.
You're a
I'm
dog.
not scared at all. I'm not scared. I'm not
No,
like,
not either.
yeah,
I'm
not
not
at all.
intimidated by people. So I haven't
Yeah,
ever run across a person that has made me, I mean, you know, the scary thug that you think is gonna, you know, you keep yourself safe. So it's not that.
Physical intimidation may be a little different.
Yeah. But that intimidation from a person's position or power, that has never happened to me, ever.
Yeah. Same.
Ever. like, I don't care who it is and what it is. And I mean, and Greg's taking me into the world of Hollywood a lot. So there's not there either. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't think that is well, for me anyway, that's not a thing. So I really consider myself I'm happy about that part. It really, well, never mind. I'm going to keep on, going the direction I'm going to get in the staterooms and then figure out what that might look like. And once I figure out what that might look like, well, I already know what I want. I want to teach in person, and so they do rallies and things like that. But I want to figure out this sort of hit and miss around the states. So I want to figure out what it looks like. And once I kind of figure that out, then I'll get in front of him and figure out what he needs. I'll figure it out. All right.
Enjoy the journey as you get there.
Exactly. And for y'all, know your value and know your worth, because I know your hearts. I know what you guys are capable of. Even though I don't know your past work history, if you're new, you know your past work history and you know where you've succeeded and what you've done before. So you know that. So know your value, know your worth. Do not always consider, I loved looking at it like a puzzle because that meant that I could just figure it out. And like Dutch said, you have to think differently. As an investor, when real estate got tough, we had to think differently all the time. And so all the time I had people that were customers that were like, well, I can't. Well, did somebody tell you couldn't? Yeah. Well, what if you could? Do you want to? Well, yeah. Well, let's figure it out. And then we just put the pieces of the puzzle together and we figured it dang out. And sometimes it was long-term, they had some work to do. Sometimes it was short-term, but we figured it out. So keep your brain open to figure out what the puzzle pieces are, because the reality is they teach you that real estate has to be these forms and look this way. But legally, in most states, you could write it on a flipping coconut and it's okay, right? Now, it's not ideal and it could open you up to getting your butt sued, but it's not illegal. So think outside the box, because there's a million ways to put things together. And if someone tells you no, just go, go over, under, around, or through. So know your value, know your worth. Don't let your brain get shut down. Really listen to what the other side wants, because you don't know the outcome until you know what they need also. And then you got to just sort of somehow navigate in through there, but really figure out what that other side wants. And then look long-term at the dynasty. What is the dynasty goal? How do I help you long-term strategically build your wealth, build your knowledge, help you get where you want to go, run this machine, whatever that is, it's that very long-term goal. And how do I help you get that thing and get their brains opened up to looking at you differently? That's very different than I'm going to hire you to mop my floors. That's cool. But how do I help you strategically long-term move this business forward? Oh, hang on. Now I need to think completely differently about you. So I highly encourage you to add in that concept somehow and that question into who you're talking to. Okay. All right, rock stars. Continue being the fabulous people that you are. Go change some lives and some worlds this weekend, the next week, and I will see you guys on Tuesday.